Welcome to the Energetically You podcast, where we will be talking about healthy habits, abundant mindset, and optimal wellness. I'm your host, Megan Swan, creator of the Sustainable Integrated Wellness Approach. At 30, I sold everything and went on my own eat, pray, love journey, if you will. And now, at 41, I'm still on my first stop here in Mexico, loving life and feeling more energy than ever before. This podcast is for ambitious women who are looking to level up their energy so that they feel happier and more productive throughout their day in all of their projects and passions. Inside, we are going to be talking about ways to truly tune in to our minds and bodies in new ways to leverage our natural energy sources. So let's dive in. Welcome back to Energetically You. I'm so excited to interview Dr. Alice Kerby. I came across her profile and was just so intrigued. We have a lot in common, but she's doing a deep dive in a really fascinating area. Dr. Alice Kerby specializes in somatic experiencing trauma therapy and recovery coaching. She holds a clinical doctorate in physical therapy and is an expert in movement and working with the nervous system and body to unwind past patterns of trauma and chronic stress. Dr. Alice helps her clients and students to gently touch into past trauma patterns that are stored into the body. This leads to restored resiliency in the nervous system, offering a greater ability to make choices from a place of one's essential self. Love that. Empowered decisions. As a sober woman, she is passionate about bringing these tools to women in recovery to facilitate an engaged life that is hallmarked by ease. She is an avid outdoors woman and adventurer and is the creator and founder of the Sober Girls Hiking and Adventure Club. Her work has been featured in the Huffington Post. She recovers an annual Women of Sobriety conference, Somatic Experiencing International, Yoga Villa Ashram, and the Amazon Corporation. She's a teacher, a clinician, freelance writer, lover of nature, and adventurer living in San Diego, California. Welcome, Alice. Dr. Alice Kerby. I'm so excited for this conversation today. Please tell us, how are you in sunny California?
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm doing well, thank you. Having a nice day. I had lunch out in the sun today. That was pleasant.
Well, please give us a little bit of background of how these things that you are so passionate about became woven together. Where did the trauma informed? Where did the movement? Where did the sobriety? Did it all happen at the same time, or were they different parts of your life that all came together in this beautiful culmination of things you do today?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So it's definitely, not linear and certainly not all at once. I think like most of us, I sort of learn as I grow and add on things as they come into my sphere and into my awareness. And with the movement, I think that's always been just something I'm really passionate about and really drawn to. I love moving, and I'm trying to do the short version of this explanation. So I, for my undergrad, I'll share this. So I'm a physical therapist. I'm a doctor of physical therapy, and clearly that exhibits my love of movement, because I chose to go down that career path rather than pursue alternatives in medicine. I was considering getting a PhD in neuroscience. And originally I was going to be a chiropractor, and then I was going to go to osteopathic medical school, but I finally settled on PT because a big part of it was that I got to be able to move at my job, and I didn't want to just be sitting and doing research or just be doing a ton of like medical documentation, which unfortunately is what a lot of primary care physicians do these days. And for my undergrad project, I'm a belly dancer, and this is something I pick up throughout my life in various, times I'll be really into it and do a lot of performing, and then I'll kind of fall off it. But I had this vision for my undergrad. I was an honor student and had to do this capstone project. And so my project was I taught this belly dance class for a semester, 1 or 2 semesters, and taught these college age women how to dance. And I did a research project on the psychological and physiological effects of consistent belly dancing on college age women. And we did this big performance at the end. I choreographed a bunch of stuff. And that was just super cool to have a project go over really well, in academia. And as a pre-med student, they were all like, why are you doing belly dancing? But I was just really into it. And it was so fun. And the results were so overwhelmingly positive. The benefits these young women got from just being in their bodies and moving their bodies in a new way, and really be encouraged to move from a place of like creative expression and fun versus like hardcore exercise time and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the trauma work I got into about 4 years ago, around the time I got sober. I've always been really interested in neuroscience. I love working with the brain. I love working with the nervous system. I like this whole idea of, being able to consciously repattern, work with our brain's plasticity. And when I got sober, the therapist that I started seeing was she is a somatic experiencing practitioner. And I started doing that work along with some recovery work. And I feel like it really skyrocketed my recovery because I was able to actually feel good in my body. And, I think I thought I was feeling okay in my body for a long time. And I really was very disconnected and just operating on a high alert pattern, a very high stress pattern. And that's one of the things that I work with very frequently now, because it's a pattern I'm so familiar with. And because it's so commonplace too, like so many of us have it. This overachiever pattern and this need to, tie our worth to our productivity. And it can it can be really kind of damaging because it doesn't allow us time to know ourselves at all, or really land inside of ourselves. And so I think that leads to making decisions from places that are based on societal conditioning, based on fear, based on being rushed, based on stress, not really based on like listening to what we actually need or what we even want. I think that's a big curious exploration for a lot of people, is what do I even want? What is my yes and what is my no? So after working with her for about a year, I decided to go take this 3-year training through Somatic Experiencing. It used to be called Somatic Experiencing Trauma Institute. They've changed the name to Somatic Experiencing International. It's the work developed by Dr. Peter Levine. And it's a specific protocol of working with trauma. It's a specific body-based modality. And it's been great. It's a lot of the work that I do is based in somatic experiencing. And I love it. It's wonderful to be able to pull in my background as a PT, my professionalism, my medical background, and work with women the way that I do, which is to help heal trauma and heal chronic stress. And to bring in some of these other pieces like joyful movement and coming into our bodies, which is what a lot of SE or somatic experiencing is this ability to come in and to be at home in ourselves and to land in our bodies and go through life actually being present with what's happening in our internal world. So yeah, that's kind of the somewhat medium length version of of all those things.
I love that. So can you break down, like, what does a session look like, or what does it look like when you're working with people? Is it multiple sessions? Is there like a set, or it really depends on the person? Does it need to be in person? Those kind of things.
Sure. I do almost 100% of my work on Zoom. It doesn't need to be in person. And with COVID was actually kind of a nice benefit, is more people started doing this work on Zoom. So it's become pretty well accepted that it does work. And because we're working with trauma, a lot of the time it can actually be safer for the person to be in their own surroundings, right? To be in their own space. Mm-hmm. So we're taking away the person to person, like physical connection. But for some people, that's actually better to have a little bit of distance, especially for folks who have been dissociating for a long time, or who are very vulnerable with being seen and heard. And that's a lot of us, where coming out and being able to actually have someone witness and really see you when you're present and behind your eyes and in your body, it can be very vulnerable and a little scary. So the Zoom actually works really well for that. It helps if I can see people, because part of my job is to track their physiology and to point out things that they might not be noticing. And And that's also part of what can happen in a session, is to sort of slow down what's going on in the body, because our body and our nervous system tends to move through things much more slowly than our conscious brain, where we're like this and then that, and then we're going to do this. If we can actually just slow down and come in and notice what's happening, it's interesting to see what kind of things will come up, how old patterns might show up and start to unravel. Emotion can come up a lot just from slowing down. So a lot of times the work I do is kind of facilitating that slower pace, and really also encouraging people to begin noticing, my clients to begin noticing, what are they feeling in their body? Somatic experiencing works a lot with the language of sensation, because that's the language of our nervous system and of our subconscious brain or our reptilian brain. And so it's like a new practice to start coming in and noticing, like, what's happening? What are you feeling? What sensations are going on? And it can really, when we become aware of our body on that level, and like in our bodies on that level, it also starts to facilitate really a much deeper sense of self-trust. And again, that makes it easier to go through life, because when we trust ourselves and we're able to actually listen and respond to what's happening, because we've practiced enough that we know we can trust what our body's telling us, it makes things easier. It makes decisions easier. It makes relationships easier. There's less waffling. There's less unclarity, which doesn't really answer your question about what a session's like. But all of those things come up. Yeah. And it can be different. Sometimes there's more movement. Sometimes we growl. Sometimes we make other noises. Sometimes a lot of emotion comes up, and we just work with that. Sometimes people will have specific things that they want to work with, and so we'll dedicate session time to that. And then sometimes it's more just a review of the week or what's going on, and slowing down and tracking the system to get to what's underneath. Maybe you're continuously irritated with this coworker, and then we find out this is some old pattern that is there. And so your ability to respond to the coworker it's kind of like stunted. This is just an example I'm making up. It's sort of stunted in there somewhere, because the ability for you to like express yourself and come into your authority with this other person you find annoying, maybe got shut down when you were a kid and you tried to say you didn't like something and your parents said, go to your room. So we can kind of unravel those things and uncouple them, so that you can now come into maybe a place of more authority with the coworker and say in an appropriate fashion, like, hey, that's not okay. Leave me alone right now, or whatever it is. So it can really look a lot of different ways. It depends who the person is, what they're working with, and what their goals are too. I like to have, clear-cut goals set with people. I like to work in session packages. I like to work over 12 sessions is typically the packages that I offer. But I do have some clients that just come, that most of them come weekly or every other week, and they just kind of do one session at a time. So that's there too. But the work takes a little while to integrate and to kind of have it be more natural for the individual to be able to practice some of these tools on their own. So that's why I like the 3 months, 12 sessions, because it really gives it a nice amount of time to integrate.
Can you take us back to your story at how you were conscious that it really helped you during recovery? Specifically, how was that? And what were you, in what way were you not in your body before you were sober?
Yeah, sure. And even in, I think, early sobriety and even being sober, there can be a lot of disconnect for a lot of us, just because we're not ever really taught how to be in our bodies. We're not ever really taught how to be connected, how to feel okay as who we are. For me, I always had a great body awareness. I was drinking the whole time I was in college and in PT school, so I didn't get sober till later. I was always really good at movement. I was always this sort of spiritually oriented person, but I never could really land in my body and trust myself. And part of that was that high stress pattern that I think can really come with, higher education and having to do all this stuff to get through it. But there was always some level of disconnect. And you know what it was for me is I was always looking to relax. I really wanted to relax. And I think that's a big part of why I drank, because I was trying to shut off the anxiety. I was trying to figure out how to find that inner peace. And I was like running around trying all these things. And the alcohol certainly didn't help, but also this fact that I just wasn't like landed in my body, because I had no idea even how to go about doing that or what that was. But I was really looking for it. In hindsight, I realized I was searching for that for a long time. I really just wanted to rest, and I couldn't quite get there.
Can you maybe tease out a little bit what you feel that this kind of work helps, or in what way it might be different for women versus men, or is it not really that different?
I mean, I think it's a little bit different for everyone because everyone's systems are different, and we all have our own stories and packages of, whatever patterning that's gone into it. But it's also similar for people. And I've started to see, the longer I've been doing it, there's like kind of patterns that emerge. I don't work with a lot of men. I do work with men occasionally. And certainly I have colleagues that I've worked with throughout my trainings that are men. It's a good question. It's an interesting question. I don't have a great answer for it because like my sort of, even my anecdotal kind of professional sample size is primarily women. I think for women, like coming into like being okay to have anger is a big thing. And I think for men, maybe that's a little different, where I think there is a component of them being able to have anger too. But it's different for men and women. I think that anger thing is just different because of societal conditioning. And it's just something I've seen come up quite a few times, of like being able to be empowered and to feel anger in a way that doesn't translate to like rage, which I think is oftentimes the pattern, where it's suppressed or it's like this crazy amount of rage that can be really overwhelming for people, so that it's hard to even, or there's fear around feeling even a little bit of anger, because it's like, oh no, once I open that, then it's, level 10, I'm throwing plates or whatever. And I think that's different for men and women, but I don't work with that many men to be able to point out real specific differences that I've seen like in a large enough sample size to say with any accuracy.
I have a lot of clients that have this, exactly what you just said. I think there's fear around expressing anger, even though they're living out maybe not every day, but consistently in their lives, they're experiencing that they must live out anger, and then coupled with self-judgment that's not appropriate. And it's just builds up this pressure cooker of emotion that they don't have a great way of expressing. So is there something that you, like a tip that you help them in that moment get more into their bodies? And
yeah, there's a couple different ways that I work with anger. I think some of the things you just said are right on, when there's a lot of self-judgment, is to like stop judging all of these things that we're feeling. Like, as long as it's, if you're out of control and you're raging and stuff, then that you need to probably take a look at that. And I'm not saying you need to judge yourself harshly, but that's probably behavior that's not really helping you feel good or helping the people around you feel good. So, let's try to figure out a new way to work with that, so we don't get dialed up to that level. And a lot of times this anger is really justified, for especially populations and groups, and that's a whole other can of worms, where we look at people that have been repressed for like centuries and decades, and there's this collective anger, and it's very justified. And like, how do we work with that, even as there's still repression and things like that still happening? And that's like a whole huge other bag of worms, but it's very valid. So, I want to mention that it's not trying to, I think, don't try to shut down the anger. Like, and can you let yourself feel it without necessarily, trying to expel it right away? And so I'll give an example of what I mean by that is, instead of like punching a pillow, let's say, because you're angry and that's, something someone told you to do. So you're not actually feeling the anger necessarily. You're feeling what it's like to punch the pillow. And so if you can actually slow way down and let your body catch up so that you actually feel the anger, maybe just, maybe punch the pillow really, really, really slowly and see what that's like. And I'm kind of doing it now with my hand in the fist. And I'm like, okay, but just what is that like to move more slowly, to be really present with how the anger is showing up in your body? Does that feel different? So things like that. And there's other techniques I'll use. There's things like a wall push and there's growling. And it really depends where the individual is in their system, because sometimes that stuff can be overwhelming for people. Sometimes really simple things like just grounding, noticing your feet on the ground, like coming back into where you are now so that, is this, like, can we be angry in our bodies in this moment, or is our anger that's happening now, is that tied to a bunch of stuff that happened in the past and we've coupled it together, and that's how we respond every time we get angry, appropriate or not? Like, can we bring ourselves back to what's actually happening now and then respond to this situation? Give ourselves a minute to feel it, but then move forward. Like being able to come into a bit of pause. Grounding and orienting are tools I talk about a lot that are really helpful for that. Just coming into this moment in our bodies, and then we can make a new choice instead of, blindly reacting in rage or whatever it is. It can be any emotion, but with anger, that happens a lot. That's like out of controlness. And sometimes that's just response from pent up anger, that's happened for a long time. And so when we get angry, that's how we respond instead of stopping to assess actually what's happening.
I think it's really important that you mentioned the collective anger, rage.
Yeah.
And I imagine a lot of your clients that are dealing with trauma, it's a completely understandable rage, right?
Yeah.
Is helping your clients feel grounded. Do you couple that with your passion for nature? Do you make that connection for them, or are they kind of separate?
Yeah, I definitely encourage it. I mean, that's so much a part of who I am and what I do. I taught a few workshops because I have this Sober Girls Hiking and Adventure Club, which is kind of a newer project. So I haven't done a ton with it yet, but the members are great and it's mostly online right now. So if anyone wants to join, come on in. But we have done a couple hikes, and I did a workshop where we did like grounding and nature bathing. And I have to say, the first time I heard about nature bathing, I thought it was so dumb. And I was like, oh God, do we need more of this? Like I go outside all the time, but it was really cool to actually go out and like with just the intent to sort of be really present with everything around us. And I'm relatively present when I hike and I'm out in nature. I take in my surroundings, I feel my feet, but it was really different. Like it wasn't about trying to get somewhere or trying to move anywhere. We just all wandered around for like 10 minutes in this park, and there were some nice trees and everyone kind of, went their own way. And that was really nice. And so we did a whole, we did a whole nervous system thing, like where we did get to bring in nature and use that with some grounding and did some Qigong. It was really fun. I should do another one of those. It was really pleasant. Yeah. It was really nice at the end. We did a gratitude practice at the end. Yeah, it's really lovely. Felt good.
Yeah, I'm a newbie, but I love forest bathing, and
it's nice.
I'm gonna take. I might just join that club of yours.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it was online. I just assumed it was something physical, local in California.
No, there's a lot of people in California, and we've met a few times, but I mean, my goal with it really is to have pockets all across North America and train other people to be able to lead some of these somatic workshops. So to have like facilitators in different pockets. It's just a big project. So I kind of gave myself permission to not have that at the forefront right now. But yeah, it's exciting. And I love the online community. People are really supportive, and it's, I'll go on and do lives and talk about backpacking stuff or sobriety stuff, stress management tools. It's fun. It's
cool.
Fun, yes.
I'm a new fan. Well, where is it best that people connect with you if they're looking to connect?
Yeah, people can check out my website. It's KirbyMethodConsulting.com. I have a lot of free stuff on there. I have a free healing anxiety ebook, which is on there. That's relatively new. I have a training to develop self-trust, which is like a little 20-minute video training, but I walk through some of these practices. I do free talks. I'd like to do them. I'd like to say I do them once a month, but I keep saying that, and I haven't done one in months. I try to send out a weekly newsletter, but it's probably been a month since I've sent one out. So, but I've
shifted from weekly to monthly myself.
Yeah. And I think we all get so many emails, but because I do offer a lot of free stuff, and occasionally I'll do paid workshops too. but I like to let people know what's going on when there's a free talk or a free thing where I'm going over these tools. Most of any kind of presentation I do is experiential in nature. So I walk people through the exercises. So you leave feeling different, because that's the whole point with this work, is to come into your body and feel better. I mean, to say it as simply as it is. But I'm also pretty active on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. It's not my best platform, but come on there and give me some love, because I'm jealous of everyone who has more like action on there than me. But yeah, Facebook, you can find me under Alice Kerby. I'm on there a good bit.
Awesome. Is there some little daily practice or maybe shift or intention that you could leave us with that helps you?
Yeah. I mean, I just do like my own daily practice that I've been pretty consistent with for a few months. Like I've really kind of reinvigorated it the past few months, probably 6 months, is just, I do 10 minutes of silent sitting. Oh, and I recorded some affirmations and I'll listen to those before. And I really like that practice too. I actually learned that from Jocelyn Harvey, the way she creates affirmations. You could check out her website. She's great. But it's you essentially, I'll probably butcher this explanation, but I think you'll get the gist. You kind of look at things that you've already done in your life. So you know that they're true, you know you've done them, and then you pull out character traits from those things. Like I went and got my clinical doctorate. So like I'm hardworking and persistent, like things like that.
Tangible.
Yeah, whatever. So that then then you record yourself saying these things, and you can, she has a list on her site, or you can just look up, words. You just look up words. It's the end of the day, guys. But then you record yourself and you listen to them. And I've actually really enjoyed that practice. And I got these stones. I have this magical stone guy over here in Pacific Beach who's on the boardwalk, but this guy is great. He has these wonderful, they're amazing. I was like, whatever, stones, crystals. But I have this collection of them now, and I'll, put them on my body and touch them and do my silent sitting. I'll pull a goddess card. For me, I don't know. I really enjoy that practice. I think anytime you can just take, whether you do affirmations or stones or whatever, but anytime you can carve out designated time just to sit quietly, I think that's one of the number one things to do. And just do it regularly, and do it when it's hard, and do it when you feel like you suck at it, and just do it, and I think if we can consistently dedicate that 10 minutes a day, or a little bit longer, 5 minutes, if you have that, to just trying to come into some stillness and listen to ourselves, I think that's really valuable in a world where there's just a lot of noise all the time. There's the internet and the world, and everything's busy, and we all have phones. Taking some time away from that, I know that's really beneficial for me when I can do it consistently.
At first it sounds weird to listen to yourself talking to yourself, but then
yeah, but it's really nice.
It sounds very smart.
Yeah, I was a little skeptical, but I really like and admire Jocelyn, and she's very, she's many things, but she's not like a super woo-woo girl. I guess I'll say that. She's like very articulate and quite professional, and she's just lovely. But hearing her talk about it, I was like, oh, I want to try that. I also have a podcast people can check out. It's called Beyond the Pink Cloud. I interviewed Jocelyn. That's why I thought of it. So I've interviewed a ton of really awesome, interesting people. It's really fun. I've had some great guests on there from the recovery world, from the wellness world, from outdoor adventure world, just interesting people sharing work that inspires them.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Alice. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be in touch.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much for listening to Energetically You. I hope that this episode has helped you to tune into your natural energy sources so that you feel more energized and focused throughout your day. If you enjoyed the episode, please take a second to rate and review. Each review helps us to help more ambitious women just like you accomplish their goals. Don't forget to take a screenshot, share it on social or in your Instagram stories, and tag me at Megan Swan Wellness. See you soon.